Welcome to DedSec.
Hype to expose the bastards in charge, yeah?
Watch Dogs Legion has arrived at quite an odd time, mere weeks before Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the gorgeous open-world Viking saga also from Ubisoft, and the next generation of home consoles, namely the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. If I put my foil hat on, I'd say that Ubi weren't too bothered about the success of Legion, and so decided to release it at a time when it will hit with those already invested in the series no matter what, and may become a gap filler for the rest of us. This flies in the face of the rather robust advertising campaign though that's marked its release, and also doesn't really fit with its reception. Legion is good, surprisingly good if you played the first entry, and still impressive if you ventured into the world of the sequel. It's a familiar setup. You are a rogue human with a smartphone that can hack just about anything. I say human because the standout feature of Legion is that you aren't a named protagonist in the traditional sense. Instead, you select from a range of characters to start, and over the course of the game, you build out a team of up to 45 operatives. When I first experienced this feature, I thought it may be novel and add to the fun of Legion, but it actually makes it. The entire game works because of how well this element operates in the world. As you wander the streets, you can scan anyone with your Wonder PDA and add them to a list of potential recruits.
Hey, how about this? They'll know all kinds of law stuff. Couldn't hurt, right?
Some will be less than ideal, having gambling problems, meaning they will spend your money, or be a bit sickly and spontaneously die on you. On the contrary, come across a hitman or a gym fanatic, and you may find yourself with a bigger arsenal or some pretty slick footwork. These skills or traits are tied to specific operators though, so lose them and lose their abilities. One of the biggest complaints around open world games is that often side quests are dull and repetitive. Now, don't get me wrong, Legion still struggles with this, and you will see some repetition in locations, mission types, hell, even dialogue, but when you're trying to recruit your first spy or do a quest for that sought-after granny, this repetition fades into the background. Coupled with permadeath, which was an inspired inclusion, you will feel genuinely tense at the prospect of losing a favoured character or screwing up a recruitment mission, and they've even balanced the enemies well. You may be tempted to rush a location guns blazing, but if you do, expect a similarly armed response. I found myself sticking to my fists often in Albion outposts, knowing that in the event of being overpowered, I would just get arrested. Of course, if I happen to get in the thick of it in a Clan Kelly warehouse, they're probably going to blow my head off. But upon death, you switch to another operative, helpfully right outside of said location.
What happened? Why is the feed dead?
Unfortunately, that piece of your heart isn't the only thing that died. Anyway, you're up.
And if you so choose, you can go all John Wick and wreak havoc on the jumped up little... But I'm getting ahead of myself. The story of Watch Dogs Legion will be familiar to many. You are recruited to the ranks of DedSec, this time in central London, and are just a normal person tasked with rebuilding the ranks of the devastated hacker group after they are wrongfully accused of terror attacks.
Only took 12,000 years to build it up, and one night to tear it all down.
The bombings carried out in DedSec's name were actually orchestrated by a completely different hacker group called Zero Day, and it is at this point that we join the story months after the attacks, when the UK has become a police state. Albion, named after the Arthurian legend, have been given power by the government and are running things in true 1984 fashion. Behind the scenes, Albion have also palled up with crime family Clan Kelly, and between them, these two factions control the city, with Albion being the face of the state who will arrest you and beat you, whilst Clan Kelly will torture, murder and strip you for parts. So what is your role in all of this?
Cuz, glad you joined the fight.
Oh, yes. Been waiting my whole damn life to kick some bollocks.
Revive DedSec, prove your innocence, bring down the corrupt police state, expose Clan Kelly and all their horror, and generally save the world. Well, London.
No pressure.
Political themes running through the narrative will see you facing corruption, police brutality, human trafficking, and organ harvesting, to name but a few. Plenty to get your hacktivist teeth into then. And this is where the rubber meets the road. Despite Legion toying with some topics that feel pertinent and at times looking like a very possible real-world future, its liberal use of mania, the slapdash way it deals with violence, and the often eccentric and over-the-top raft of citizen stereotypes keeps everything feeling fresh and enjoyable. It is a sandbox, that's how it feels, and it manages to stay on the right side of WTF. So as a well-crafted sandbox, the question has to be, how does it play and how does it feel? And thankfully the answer is very good. Driving, movement and combat all feel familiar if somewhat slightly arcadey, but to be fair, this adds to rather than detracts from the have fun how you like motif. Main missions have a decent range of objectives and executions, and the antagonists are suitably evil and overacted. Side quests to retake the boroughs of London do feel a little too easy, and may well just exist so that you can explore the well-rendered and vibrant city, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The hacking, of course, is where this game shines, and you can hack just about anything. Turning the world into a weapon to aid in combat or cover your escape is a lot of fun. You may not be able to change traffic lights, but who cares when you can part the traffic itself like Moses in the Red Sea, or send taxis careening into your pursuers. Despite the skill tree not being linked to a specific character, it is still pretty familiar. It just allows you to upgrade your entire crew, leveling up their hacker proficiencies, giving them more control over bigger and more powerful drones, or increasing their resistance to damage. There is also a gallery of unlockable tech which can be equipped by any DedSec members and includes the ability to cloak, use stun mines, electric knuckles, etc, etc. But the most important of all is the Spiderbot. An 8-legged drone that you can use to infiltrate nearly any enemy base, the Spiderbot allows you to remain at a distance whilst you ransack your target or sneak in quietly to extract information. By far the gadget I use the most, it is also incredibly fun, once you get over how terrifyingly face-huggy it is when neutralizing enemies. I know, it sounds like I'm a huge fanboy, so let me go over some of the negative elements as I found them. The voice acting can be a little painful as some of the voices simply don't fit their characters.
I'm happy to be here. Now, let's get to it.
Brilliant.
Bagley, the ever-present AI, whilst having a nice comic touch, can be a little annoying. You don't have to play through too many recruitment missions before you start seeing repetition. I mean, how many times I need to drive a car into the Thames, I don't know. And there is a decent amount of jank sewn in if you play the game for long enough. I'm particularly salty about losing one of my favourite operatives when an Albion car started ramming me for seemingly no reason, only to explode and take me with it. But even these elements don't feel out of place. If Ubisoft had tried to make this game too serious or too slick, it could have been a very dark experience indeed. Truth be told, there were times with Watch Dogs Legion that I thought it might be a bit shit. Some elements could have descended into ropey territory or could have worsened some of the experience, but that didn't happen, and if anything, the dash of cringe almost added to my enjoyment. But then again, maybe there's just something wrong with me.